In the highly competitive corporate world, executives often evaluate communication effectiveness by the sheer velocity of words, instant responses, and constant verbal dominance during intense boardroom debates. They mistakenly assume that filling every single conversational gap projects absolute confidence, managerial strength, and unwavering control over their operational departments. Consequently, within many modern organizations, intentional pause or silence is completely misunderstood as professional weakness, hesitation, or a total lack of strategic direction. But the most sophisticated dynamics of leadership authority develop when an executive deliberately chooses restraint over immediate reaction, transforming silence from an awkward void into a powerful tool of psychological influence. This thoughtful, deeply psychological video thoroughly explores the hidden cognitive mechanics behind strategic silence and explains why experienced executives intentionally pause before responding during difficult conversations and high-pressure situations. The practical script focuses heavily on advanced emotional intelligence, corporate communication psychology, and the vital dynamics of behavioral consistency. By analyzing highly realistic team situations, viewers will clearly see how calm leaders successfully reduce destructive workplace conflict while dramatically improving overall decision quality. These familiar scenarios perfectly illustrate how emotional self-regulation completely reshapes team perception, yielding massive breakthroughs in team loyalty. Furthermore, the comprehensive content explains how deliberate silence creates profound psychological safety and establishes a much stronger, more commanding leadership authority without relying on administrative intimidation or fear. Viewers will learn practical, stress-tested techniques for using silence effectively during high-stakes corporate negotiations, intense project briefings, and sensitive conflict resolution scenarios. The overarching tone remains deeply thoughtful, exceptionally intelligent, and highly practical throughout the entire presentation, ensuring that both senior managers and junior specialists leave with a completely different perspective on modern leadership communication. Viewers should feel like they are learning secret rules of executive presence. The impactful ending strongly reinforces the absolute, non-negotiable importance of unwavering emotional consistency and behavioral predictability in modern executive leadership. Reliability is the definitive cornerstone upon which all high-performing, resilient corporate cultures are built and sustained against intense operational pressures. When a manager operates with erratic unpredictability or reacts defensively to every critique, they project internal anxiety, creating a volatile workspace where employees focus entirely on psychological self-defense. Consequently, team members instinctively filter their communication and hide critical project updates simply to avoid triggering an angry reaction from management. This defensive behavior completely paralyzes internal feedback loops, ensuring that critical operational errors remain hidden until they inevitably evolve into severe, exceptionally costly corporate crises across the entire enterprise. The leader completely fails to realize that their inability to regulate their own emotions has effectively closed the door on honest communication, severely damaging their true authority. Now contrast that fragile environment with a mature corporate culture anchored in absolute predictability, deep transparency, and authentic confidence. Exceptional leaders understand that emotional stability is a critical source of organizational strength. They treat every single workplace interaction as a valuable opportunity to reinforce psychological safety, ensuring that their language, body language, and reactions remain completely calm and constructive under intense pressure. When a high-stakes project experiences a sudden setback, these disciplined executives completely suppress their defensive ego and approach the operational failure with a deeply analytical, collaborative mindset. They demonstrate to the entire room that maintaining a secure, supportive environment for open problem-solving always remains infinitely more important than venting short-term personal frustration or finding an individual scapegoat. To build this level of profound professional trust, you must first master the art of establishing unbreakable emotional safety within your daily corporate meeting scenarios and operations. Safety is the collective belief that the workspace remains secure for interpersonal risk-taking, where no professional will ever be marginalized for sharing an unorthodox perspective or pointing out a structural flaw. When your people know without a doubt that their honesty will never be met with defense, sarcasm, or administrative punishment, they naturally bring their most creative, breakthrough ideas forward. They take ownership of their roles because they know their professional boundaries are fully respected by management. The biggest obstacle to achieving this vital consistency is always the leader's uncalibrated ego, which constantly misinterprets an objective critique of a plan as a direct attack on competence. An elite leader, however, has learned to deliberately decouple their personal identity from their business ideas, viewing every dissenting opinion as an act of dedicated service to the mission. They send an exceptionally transparent message to the entire hierarchy. My personal comfort is never the priority. Achieving the absolute best strategic result for this enterprise is the only thing. If you have unfortunately damaged trust through previous emotional outbursts or continuous avoidance, rebuilding credibility requires immense personal discipline and a structured approach to recovery. The recovery process begins with a formal, completely sincere public apology to your team, where you explicitly acknowledge your inappropriate behavior without making weak excuses. Vulnerability from an executive never diminishes official authority. Instead, it dramatically increases respect by proving that the manager is self-aware and fully committed to truth. Following the apology, you must implement a rigorous framework of predictable behavior. You must show up for your people with the exact same calm, supportive demeanor without exception every single day. Consistency must be maintained across all communication channels, ensuring that your strategic expectations, individual metrics, and feedback loops remain perfectly aligned and completely free from confusing, erratic ambiguity. Furthermore, consider establishing formal, highly structured micro check-ins with your direct reports to systematically eliminate conversational friction and proactively uncover hidden bottlenecks before they expand into major corporate roadblocks. Keep these daily touch points incredibly sharp, highly actionable, and entirely focused on removing bureaucratic obstacles for your talent, rather than micromanaging their specific processes or restricting their operational autonomy. By proving through repeated daily actions that you are a reliable, emotionally stable resource, you will slowly but surely restore the psychological safety required for world-class collaboration. High-performing individuals are naturally drawn to predictable leadership because it provides a secure foundation to take bold, calculated, creative risks and maximize their professional impact within the industry. When you invest heavily in your team's emotional security and run toward difficult conversations, the strategic returns are compounding, resulting in drastically reduced employee turnover rates and elevated workplace morale. Our vital takeaway for viewers is that legendary corporate cultures are never built through grand declarations, but through the quiet, relentless repetition of positive, emotionally intelligent micro-actions executed every single day. So, during your very next high-stakes briefing, pay exceptionally close attention to your immediate internal reactions the moment a crisis is presented. Consciously choose to respond with genuine, deep curiosity rather than defensive anger, and actively invite the room to collaboratively dissect the data and engineer a robust, long-term solution. Watch how rapidly the internal energy shifts from heavy tension and fear to highly motivated, creative collaboration, transforming your workspace into an unstoppable powerhouse of collective intelligence. Lead the room into analytical problem-solving, not emotional finger-pointing, proving that authentic presence is the cornerstone of resilience. In conclusion, mastering your daily behavioral patterns and developing emotional courage will completely revolutionize your management style, yielding massive breakthroughs in team loyalty and overall business metrics. Your ultimate takeaway, Padre, is that true leadership influence is multiplied only when it is shared through humility, unwavering behavioral consistency, and an absolute commitment to protecting your people's psychological safety. Commit to this disciplined approach starting right now, trading short-term emotional reactions for the long-term security of a deeply unified, highly inspired, and completely future-proof professional team.